Good evening, Wolves family. It's that time again. This is the August 2020 post board meeting video. I'm excited to provide you some updates and a lot of great things to report and some real excitement around the district. We'll go just kind of follow the agenda here that's posted online. I'll try to cover the most pertinent topics so that you're kind of caught up to speed. We had a tax rate hearing tonight. Every year in August, we hold a tax rate hearing. We look at assessed valuation and what that's looked like over the summer. And then we run a calculation along with the state auditor. So it's not something that we just come up with on our own. Our state auditor goes through and approves a calculation. So our assessed valuation in our community has gone up about 6% this year. It was a really significant growth, a really nice growth for us. Over the last 10 years, we've had about a $100 million increase in assessed valuation with new properties and expansion in our area and new properties being built. So that's a positive for us. We've had a nice increase over the last several years. Our tax rate, because of the assessed valuation that it went up, our tax rate, our operational levy went down just a hair, just a tiny bit. We were at $2.99, 2.9995 last year, and now we're at 2.9994. So pretty much the same tax rate levy that we had last year. So you shouldn't see much of a fluctuation on your personal property tax this year. So the board approved that new tax rate. We'll make sure that's posted and you have that information. So that was certainly a part of the board meeting. Want to welcome a couple new employees that we've had hired officially this last past year. We have Bill Baitner, who was a bus driver. He was here before, as I understand it. He's back with us driving. Want to welcome Carly Montgomery Clatcher, our new elementary school nurse, to our staff. John Andrews, a high school custodian, and Greg Rance, another bus driver. So we really appreciate having bus drivers back with us. Looking forward to their service. I'm going to give a shout out here. We are in need of substitutes. I'll address it now since I brought it up. We have increased our substitute pay to make it more competitive with the area. We've had a stagnant substitute pay schedule that's been in place for years. And so we've raised the daily substitute rate for paras and teachers from $80 to $95 a day. If you're a long-term sub, if you've been covering somebody for 10 days or longer, then all that pay actually goes up to $115. So we're extremely competitive now with all the districts in our area. The other thing to point out is that the Department of Education has changed the standards of what's required to be a sub. In the past, you could not substitute in the district unless you had 60 credit hours of schooling, post-high school college credits. The Department of Education has just changed that to you can have 60 credit hours or just 20 hours of online training, which is provided on the Department of Education website. So a quick 20-hour training and you're certified and you can teach in Missouri schools, preferably in the Reed Spring School District. So I'd encourage you to reach out to anyone who may be in need of some employment. Maybe they're temporary or furloughed or have some other things going on financially and they just want to have some steady income here. We are in need. If you can pass a background check and can pass the 20-hour training and take that 20-hour training and are over 21 years of age, you'll be able to come and sub for us. So wanted to give a shout out to that. We're excited about the sub pay increase and want our substitutes that are currently on staff to know that we value them and honor them. Along those same lines, we've actually, the board went ahead and we potentially will be in need of subs in a variety of positions due to COVID-19 that we haven't had in the past. Custodians, secretarial staff, and those kinds of things. So if you're interested in subbing for positions that are non-teaching positions, we will go ahead and contact central office and we'll get your names down and begin that process and have you ready to go in case those needs arise. Okay, so lots happened. School is back in session. It has been amazing having school going in, having students back on campus and virtual. I was able to visit all the classrooms and really see an excited student body that's just happy to be back. A staff that is so excited about having students back in the building. I want to give a shout out to all those individuals, our administrative assistants, our secretaries, our custodians, all of our administrators, everyone that's done all the work, all of our teachers, everyone in preparation for such a unique year. I especially want to give credit to our administrative team who have worked hours on end over the last several months trying to figure out how to plan for COVID-19. In a situation where we're not experts about what we're doing, but we're trying to create the best system possible for our kids. And I feel like we have done a really good job in doing our very best to plan for 420 kids that are now being educated at home virtually. We recognize that we may not be perfect in this new way of operating. It's going to take us time to learn and operate, but I feel very confident that we have a phenomenal, exceptional staff that's going to really do all they can to meet the needs of our children at our homes. And so I have kids in my own household who are coming to school seated, and I have a daughter who's at home virtual. So we get to experience kind of both sides of that, and I'm just excited to see how the year plays out. I know there's a lot of uncertainties, but I'm optimistic about how we're going to be able to move forward as a district. So one of the things that you'll need to just want to make people aware of, that we're trying to do everything we can to provide the highest quality learning experience for our kids. So one of the things we've done to put in place is, if a teacher is quarantined because they've been exposed to COVID-19, so they're not sick, but they're now on a 14-day quarantine because they've been exposed to somebody outside the district and they have to stay at home for 14 days. We are going to do everything we can that high quality educator continues teaching those students that are in school. So what that would look like is that our teachers at home would be virtually tuning into our students at school to provide instruction. A substitute would be in the classroom facilitating that, or monitoring supervision, making sure the kids were staying on task, and the teacher that's at home on quarantine during that 2-week period would still be chiming in to that classroom on campus through technology and providing instruction. We really feel like this is going to be a great way to one, provide the best learning experience possible while a teacher's on COVID. We know that our teachers that are fully certified and have been experienced are just more trained in providing quality learning experiences. And then what it also provides is our employees, because they're going on leave, on COVID leave, we by law can provide them 80 hours, or essentially 2 weeks of paid leave if they're impacted by COVID or a family member is impacted by COVID. Otherwise, they would be dock days. And so concerned about those individuals that may not have a lot of days, especially our new people. So what we're going to do is try to create an opportunity for any position. For most of the positions that we can, we're going to try to allow that to happen, work to happen remotely, virtually. That won't be able to happen with every employee group, but to the extent that we can, we're going to try to make that happen. But for you as a parent, just know that if your child teacher's home on COVID, they will, as long as they're not really sick and taking days, they have the opportunity to chime in and provide education for our students still. So we're real excited about that. We will make announcements district-wide if there is a positive case that impacts our schools, that impacts our student body. So you'll hear an announcement. The announcement will be a very general statement made by the district. You will receive a specific phone call if your child was impacted by somebody that was positive with COVID. You will get a call from district office or the health department. So if you just hear a general announcement from the district, but you receive no notification personally through a phone call, then your child has not been exposed to COVID-19. So just want to make sure that's clear. Our enrollment, we are down about 15 kids, so not too bad. We're, and another week or two, we'll see how that all plays out again. We're at 420 kids that are at virtual. So essentially an entire building, entire student body is at home learning virtually. We love those kids and are excited about providing a good learning experience for them over the course of the year. And I'm really proud. On K through 5, we have our individual teachers that are teaching virtually through Zoom and video platforms and providing instruction. 6 through 12 is more through Edgenuity, a learning module. But what we've created that's unique from some districts is that we've set it up so that if your child's at home sixth grade through 12, they are assigned to mentor teachers who, if I'm a student and I'm struggling with a math concept or an English concept or chemistry, that we will get them connected to one of those teachers on campus that can provide some tutoring or some support, some additional guidance to help them work through some of the work. I'm really excited about seeing how that plays out. I have a daughter that will be going through that process, so I'm looking forward to seeing how her experience is. Give a shout out to our special education department, and especially our director, Liz Smith, who's a phenomenal educator, administrator, and her entire special ed department is remarkable. People are coming to our district because they want their children serviced here through our special services program. We received notification from the Department of Education that we've effectively satisfied all the requirements for the IDEA determination through 2020. The work that's been done in that department is great. We've also adopted Department of Education's compliance plan. We follow that plan, which helps us to make sure we're in compliance with special ed law, both state and locally, and that's how we get a great score that we received, score 4, the highest score we can get from the Department of Education for being in compliance. We have a variety of board issues that are going to be discussed. Most of them are related to Title IX, some changes in Title IX, and harassment and discrimination and how that's investigated. So we're working through those policies, and the board will adopt those as they have a chance to review some of those policies. The board, just so you know, as a board member, you have to sign, you have to make sure that you have no conflict of interest in working with the district. They have no employment with the district, and so the board reviewed that policy tonight. They approve it every 2 years to make sure that board members are staying tuned, that they're following good ethics, and as they report to the Missouri Ethics Commission to make sure that they're following good practices as board members. All our board members are great individuals. The high school has added a new course, AP Psychology. The reason that was added is because dual credit psychology used to be offered, but that has gone away because now the state says in order to offer dual credit psychology, you have to have a teacher that has a master's in psychology to teach that, which very few educators have masters in psychology. And so the AP Psychology provides that course for our kids. It's a hard class, it's very rigorous, but an opportunity where that they can learn and gain that experience. So that has been added. We appreciate the high school administration for their leadership on that and their team. A couple things from Dr. Kite in our teaching and learning department, curriculum adoption, just moving along. One of the big focuses obviously with our Missouri Wolves Academy, but also with our letters training. This training is literacy training for all of our lower level teachers that are going through this training to increase their effectiveness and their ability to teach reading and literacy to kids of all ages. So that's a huge piece. One thing we were able to do as part of the result of the strategic plan that's a benefit for our board, our employees, is we are able to take sick and leave days and eliminate those and turn them into just paid leave days. So they're just leave times, so our employees don't have to worry about utilizing those times and declaring. They're really just theirs to use. Sick and leave are just combined together in one. It's something that is just a nice perk for our people. So we were able to change some policies related to that. I want to give a shout out to Miss Dawn Shade, just on her work. One of the things that we proved tonight, Mrs. Shade, she has really helped and is providing guidance to our Wolves Academy. Mrs. Shade is she's teaching virtual academy to our Wolves kids, but she's also taking on extra duty responsibility to provide technical support and guidance to all of our Wolves teachers. There's nobody better that could have done it, and we appreciate her and the work that she's doing. We have also had the board approve a job description for our virtual teachers so that it's aligned with our regular teachers. The same expectations of high quality learning aligned with our mission of high expectations and academic excellence. So that job description was approved. And then we approved a healthcare aide job description. At this time, we've been able to move one para who was freed up to be able to move her to a health aide position, and we appreciate her. But we also have the option now, if we need to hire additional support for our nursing staff during the COVID-19 situation, that we can hire a health aide to accept that responsibility. We've already talked about substitute pay increases, so we're excited again about that and want to get subs here if we can. We have also revised our nurse salary schedule to make it very much more competitive so that we can pay our nurses what they're worth, something that's been on my list and on their list for quite a while. And so we did that in order to be able to recruit and retain our nursing staff and appreciate them, especially during this time. And I want to give a shout out to Carla Bauer, our middle school nurse, who's now serving as our contact tracer COVID go-to. She's a phenomenal employee, just a hard-working person, and such a valuable part of our team. Appreciate all that she's doing. The board adopted my evaluation tool, which is encompasses a variety of things in terms of how I'm working with our staff, how I'm working with community, but it also addresses how the district is progressing the strategic plan and moving forward the strategic plan. So my evaluation is tied to that as promised. And then another goal of leading leaders and growing myself as a leader coach. So I'm excited about that. We also adopted a new building or principal, director, administrator evaluation, and that's tied to our strategic plan of academic excellence. And so that was adopted tonight and going in place and implemented. So that took a lot of work to develop, and I'm glad that we were able to have that in place because our administrators need a model growth and have that mindset of growth and a willingness to become truly world class. We set our tuition rate for the year at $11,458 a year for our tuition rate by law. The final thing that I presented to the board, one is we did some revisions on last year's budget, which were really minor, but I updated the board regarding our fiscal situation, our finances. We've over the last 2 years as I've come, last year and then this year, I've set a budget that's really, really conservative and really tight. I've had to limit the amount of money that's being spent on supplies, the amount of money that's being spent on salary increases. We were able to only do very minimal increases this year, just enough to get people to move a step down the salary schedule, but which really averages like $400 and $500, if that. And we haven't been able to really spend much money on facility upgrades because of our budget being so tight. And you'll see that our reserves, our fund balances have gone up from 17% to 20%, and that's just really because we have restricted spending because we're just worried about our financial situation. Especially with the unknowns of COVID-19, the amount of money that governors restricted from our budget has been significant from the state level. So while our assessed valuation has gone up, we'll be able to generate more local dollars. Our state dollars are quite a bit less this year anticipated. We anticipate sales tax to be pretty stable this school year, throughout the state. Actually, throughout the state of Missouri, sales tax ran pretty well even during COVID time. Our county revenue should be relatively stable. And then again, as from a state standpoint, we're going to have some hits. Our transportation costs or revenues from the state are $175,000, very minimal compared to what we've gotten. They've cut that significantly. Gambling money is also projected. I projected and based the budget on a pretty conservative, really low number on that. And federal budget revenue should be fairly stable. So our revenue is 74% of all of our dollars come from local taxes. Much different than a lot of other school districts. Some school districts are like 50%, 40%, 30%, that they are much more dependent on the state. So while the state budget does impact us and does hurt us if it's impacted negatively, it's the local tax dollars for us more than other districts that really drives our budget. And so we really have to keep an eye on what's going on there. 68% of all of our budget is spent on salaries. That's about 50% on salaries and 19%, 20%. Actually, I might put percentages off. We're about 70%. Yeah, we're about 70%. Benefits are about 19.4% of our budget. So 70% on the dollar of every dollar is spent towards employing people. Our payroll is a little around right around $1.5 million a month. So it's a big payroll when you have as many employees that we have. So how do we compare to the state? We're salary-wise, we're just a titch above the state. There are states close to 66%. We're about 68, 69%. So we pay a little bit better than the state average. One of the things that's concerning to me as a superintendent is the amount of money that we have put aside for savings for potential issues in our buildings, roof issues, heating and cooling, bus issues. We've only been able to allocate 2.41% of our budget towards those improvements, and state average is closer to 7%. And again, I'm just trying to keep us from financially being in a position where we're not doing well. So overall expenditures right now are 25 million, a little over 25 million. Revenues are a little over 26 million, so we're not deficit spending. I've created a buffer, but it's a little skewed because I've restricted the budget so much right now that in December, if we're doing well in December, I'll actually ask the board to approve and release a little bit more money for supplies and operational things that need to get done. And so I anticipate that gap between revenues and expenditures decreasing and becoming much closer to each other, although I don't feel like we'll top the $26 million in revenues. We won't be deficit spending. So we talked about fund balances tonight. There's reasons why you want to have money in the bank. One, you want to, if you're locally tied like we are, you need to have money in the bank, because if we don't have enough money in the bank, we have to make sure those tax dollars last from December to December, from when they come and get us all through. So we really have to balance that out. We also have to prepare for emergencies, and the final thing that we have to do is we have to plan for special local needs. And for us, it's a strategic plan. It's the most important thing going on in the district outside of the classroom. It's what's going to drive us forward. So historically, over fund balances, we've been anywhere from, in the last 10 years, we were at 2010, we've been at 25%, all the way down to last year, we hit 17%. This past year, we were able to bring that back up to 20%. So we're sitting at 20% is where we ended the year last year on reserves. My job as a superintendent that I'm tasked to do is to provide a plan for the district and create a vision. It's one of the things I'm tasked on. The vision for the district, that we call it Vision 2025. We have a 5-year plan. This is the first round of strategic planning. We're excited about the future of our district. If you think about what has happened over the course of the year with COVID, even with COVID hitting, we were able to completely create a whole new paradigm shift, a whole new framework of thinking for our district. We've identified a new vision or a new mission, which is centered on creating a world-class school district. I want to be able to take pride in that I can take any staff member or any employee or any patron into any classroom and have pride of what's going on in the classroom instruction. I can take them to any corner of the district and not feel embarrassed by the way things look. That I can have confidence that our buses are operating well. That I know that our staff's trained, that we're providing high quality practices. And to me, it's really about being world class. And to me, going to McDonald's isn't world class. There's a better way, and we've done great things in the district, but our strategic plan is built and designed to lead us to greatness. And I'm just a believer that that's going to happen. It's going to take time. Will we get it all right? Will we make mistakes? And will we learn? Absolutely. But we're moving in a great direction. Our mission, again, is to focus on each individual child and their academic and personal success, an individual connection with them. I love our mission. It's on our website. I encourage you to be aware of that. Again, we have 7 strategies in our strategic plan: early childhood expansion, academic excellence across the district, student well-being, their social and emotional development, addressing the needs of high-quality employees so we can retain and recruit and grow our staff, enhancing community awareness and engagement both here, locally, statewide, and nationwide. I want to be able to go to Missouri, to St. Louis and have a conference and be putting on a session, and people want to come to our session because we're from the Reed Springs School District. Expanding career and college readiness, expanding Gibson Technical Center, and those kinds of things. So one of the things that's going to be really important is that in order to create this plan, we have an entire strategic planning team that's representative of several, if not half or more of those, more than half of those committee members were community members involved. Business owners, chamber leaders, local families from all different levels. Then we had employees. And then we had action teams, so multiple action teams, 7 action teams with large groups of people that represent our community, working in our community, not just employees, but a significant amount of community people working on those action teams. So we've created this plan to address the need of the strategic plan. We're going to need support to do that financially. Why? Because we're going to need to add the plan that our community put together includes expanding our early childhood program, looking at infant and toddler care for our community and supporting that. Expanding transportation so we can get early childhood students to school to be able to offer that, because we know that's a big need in our community. Adding instructional coach, looking at how we're dealing with social and emotional needs for kids, revamping our entire salary schedule to make it competitive. We have some significant issues with some employee groups. As one of my board members said, we do a good job with our salary schedule to grow them and get them ready, and then financially it doesn't make sense for them to, there's so many other options financially in other districts around us. It just doesn't make sense financially to stay here. So we need to revamp our salary schedule. Looking at building an early childhood center to house our new early childhood program. That may involve the director. Looking at alternative learning environments, kindergarten through 8th grade, so students that are experienced with trauma can get their needs met at a higher level, while kids that aren't experiencing trauma can have their needs met. Looking into adding social workers in the district, tuition reimbursement, marketing in the district. Gibson Technical Center has to be rebuilt, has to be revamped. It's the oldest facility in the district. It has no room for expansion of programs, and that program hinges on us receiving school district kids, sending school districts around us, sending us their kids and paying tuition to go there. We need to market it. We need it to be competitive. It needs to be better than OTC, better than all those other programs around. And so we know we have to build a new early childhood center as part of our plan that was adopted by the community. Those are just some of the things that are going to require dollars. And so we talked a little bit tonight about how important it is to raise our top operating levy. We're going to need to that's an action item in the strategic plan, is to go to our voters and ask for an increase in our operating levy. I did an analysis of all the regional school districts and all the tax rates. Reese Spring School District is the lowest tax rate school district in the entire region. We rank number 107 out of 519 school districts with the lowest tax rate. We haven't had to come to the voters ever for a tax rate increase. Billings School District is higher than us. We're at 2.994 as our operating. Billings is at 3.2, Crane 3.3, Forsyth 3.34, Spokane, Branson's all the way up to Hurley 3.96, Blue Eye 4. All these districts, and we're at the bottom of all those tax rates. And I think that's great. We've been able to do that. But in order to achieve that next level of greatness, we are going to need the support of our voters to approve a tax rate increase. So much information is going to come over the next several months as we prepare for an August election. I will be as many groups as I can, share as much information I can. But it's such an exciting time, and I think about my individual children and the impact that this plan will have on them, and then I think about how that's magnified to 1,800 kids a year. Just a wonderful thing. We appreciate your support. So much more to come. I know there was a longer video tonight, but it's just a lot of great things happening. What a great year. Thank you for your flexibility and for your support. During this time, there's no greater group that impacts the community than educators. And the work that they're doing for our community is significant. We appreciate your patience and love, and excited for a great school year. Thanks, everyone.